So you're speaking of mentors and people that you've listened to on podcasts. How important have mentors been to your growth and your whole entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, two come to mind. I mean, when I did my pallets, I remember the backstory to doing that first business was I was looking for a job. I had worked for a realtor. I'd had odds and end jobs here, but like I've never really had like an actual job. So I had applied at places. I just given up at that point because I hadn't heard back. And I'm on Facebook, and someone's looking to hire someone for a fireworks store that he has. He has multiple fireworks stores. Obviously, getting close to July, and then he ran an e-commerce business. And that in my head, right when you look up on YouTube any businesses, there's e-commerce and different things, and I was like, oh man, all right, I'm in. So I wanted to learn more, and I told him that. And from day one, he had hired other kids, and they didn't see the bigger picture, right? They're like, oh man, I get paid $10-12 an hour and work at this fireworks store, super easy, right? But I was like, man, I want to learn about this e-commerce stuff. So he took me under his wing, showed me the ins and the outs of the business. And I was like, this is awesome. He's like, I'd like to employ you after the fireworks store. And at that time, I was getting paid like, I seriously think it was like $10 an hour. And I was like, this is the best job ever. I sit here, I don't do anything. And then July 4th came, we were busy, right? But it was super easy job. And then he offered me that job after to continue with e-commerce. I remember walking in, seeing the pallets of literal just Amazon items, anything. It was like a mystery box. I was like, this is awesome. I get to go through this stuff for a job. And then he like kind of not sat me down, but looked at me. He's like, hey, I'm just letting you know, like, this isn't forever. Like, I was like, oh shoot. Like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm not going to employ you forever. This is just short term. And I was like, thinking to myself, like, did I do something wrong? What, what's the deal? And he's like, well, I don't want you to, like, this isn't my goal for you. He's like, I see that you have, like, the entrepreneurial spirit in you. Like, I want you to do this. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't really want to do this. I'm getting paid $10 an hour. This is the best gig ever, right? And he's like, no, I want you to buy pallets from me. I'll source them to you. And I want you to do it. I was like, okay. So then I took the leap, and I jumped into it. Started it with my friend. My friend eventually exited, but my mentor in that sense was like, he was the one that like sparked everything in me. Just completely shifted me from like, you have to think bigger. Like, sure, there's people that make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, but it's the investing, the businesses, whatever you choose to invest your money in. Maybe it's not a startup, but that's where the real money is, and the freedom more than anything. And that's what I didn't understand being a teenager. And then he explained it to me. I started that business. I was making great money, investing almost all of it back into the business, but making great money. I was like, oh wow, this is what I want to do. So I mean, when you surround yourself and you get a great mentor, it's worth its weight in everything. I know I still to this day can call up him and another mentor I've had in real estate that kind of just walked me through when I was flipping houses, and he's like, hey, here's what I would recommend doing here. Those people that you can call on and learn from more than anything are just so valuable.
Yeah, it's high performers hang with high performers. Right. And it's like, even if you're not a high performer, you got to have that attitude and mindset to get around those people. Yeah, and they're going to see that.
Right. And I think the most important thing too, and I saw like a quote, it's like, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that think you do, right? They get that feeling. They're like, oh man, I know my stuff. People are coming to me. No, I always want to be the smallest fish, right? I want to be the dumbest person in the room so I can gain so much more information, knowledge, and soak it all up. I really do love that. I mean, pride aside, like, it's awesome learning as much as you can from some people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it comes in random ways, too. And someone's not going to knock on your door and say, hey, here's a business opportunity.
Right, yeah, I'm going to show you how to make it. No,
every opportunity I've heard you today, you were out doing something.
Right.
So from the action resulted in the opportunity.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that I had to learn was being so young, especially like, I mean, I'm still young in my 20s, right? But when I started, I was like 18, and I always saw that as like a disadvantage. And it wasn't until I started listening to other podcasts and reading books that like, that is an extreme advantage. People want to help you when you're young. When you're young, taking action, not going to parties and picking up small jobs and not showing up to work. Like, when you're taking action at such a young age, people want to help you. They want to take you under their wing. They want you to succeed. So I think that was very important for me to learn as well.
Yeah.